us, every human being is a story. Every one of us is a story. You love a story. And you have one, you have one. I've got a dime novel. I always start with a character because I so love people. I'm so interested in people. I start with a character, and then I say, well, now, this character has a story. I see that character in my mind. I envision him. And I said, now, what's the story? Everybody has something interesting in his life that was important. And my mind begins to work around what would be the story around this character. And so that's how the stories begin to evolve, you know. You've heard me say this before, you know, that I am now in the enviable position of being able to come up with any kind of biography I want to come up with. For the simple reason that there's nobody left alive to contradict me. So I can come up with any story I want to come up with. I feel perfectly safe. Life is such a miracle. It is such a wondrous gift to be able to have life. Incredible gift, incredible miracle. And the purpose of life is very simple. It's to be enjoyed. And I'm not kidding when I say that. The purpose of life is to be enjoyed. This idea to live one's life in suffering and sorrow and sacrifice, that is crap. Because life is such a wonderful miracle, it's such a wonderful gift to have it. And to live one's life dragging through a muck of sacrifice, and I don't mean, and I'm not talking about selfishness. I'm not talking about selfishness at all. Because life is not, that kind of enjoyment you need is not going to come through how much stuff you own, or how prominent your position is, or any of that stuff. It's how you relate to all of that up there. It's how you relate to other human beings. It's how you relate to yourself. Of knowing what it is to just love things. To love being alive. To love what you're doing. I think, I don't want to leave this world, because I love it. I love it. This world is a wonderful, wonderful, marvelous, incredible thing. The only problem it has is what human beings do to it. And all the problems we have come out of it, the bad behavior of human beings. But the world itself is such a wondrous. I so often think, you know, that I have a globe there that I love to look at that globe and think about. When you look at that globe there, and you realize that this little ball we're sitting on, in all of that vastness and all of that stuff that's out there, where the only thing we've ever been found out there is cold and death. That's all we've ever been able to find out there. When you realize that this little ball here is the only thing in all of that, in the mass of stuff, where life can exist. When you really stop and think about that, it's mind-boggling. You look at all those huge balls and shapes and things that are out there, and none of that can produce life. This little ball is the only miracle of life that's there. So perhaps haven't we all, maybe all the time, this is a thought that intrigues me a lot, maybe all the time we have been thinking about paradise being in the wrong place. That paradise is not something off out there somewhere. Maybe we've been living in paradise all the time and didn't have sense enough to know it. This idea is one that plays in my head a lot. I think and if you start reversing that process and not thinking of paradise as something I'm going to go floating off to and gather in a bunch of wings after I die, but it's right here. And we are the ones who keep it from being a true paradise by our own behavior. And the older I get, the more I'm inclined to think perhaps that's the way it really is, you know. It is it. It's not all out there. You've been living in it all the time. Because how many times have you had the life experience that you yearn for something off over there somewhere, greener pastures, other places, and then once you have an opportunity to experience those things, you realize what I was wanting was back there where I left. But I couldn't see it. I was too close to it, I couldn't see the thing I wanted, and after was right back there where I left. You know, as you become older, you start thinking about a lot of these things. You start thinking about these things a great deal. When they saw off your feet, oh, I must say it went pretty good. Well, I'm glad I stayed on a farm. I'm glad I stayed on a farm. I like the cattle. The cattle were wonderful. It's just like part of the family. I had 2 cows that got to be 20 years old. I had a calf at 20. Hard to believe, but I can't believe myself. Don't hear that nowadays. It was so different than now. You had a hired man and a hired girl. Well, I started milking as soon as I could. Didn't fall off the milk stool. We didn't. It never was so big, not like now. When I went to high school, we had 13 cows, a bull, 2 horses, and 110 chickens. That's about the way we grew all the time. And well, I'm glad I grew up on a farm rather than growing up in the city. You know, there's all you can do is sell papers, or you can't. There's not much to do in the city, you know. But here, when we got home from school, my mother had a little lunch for me, and the work was waiting for me in the barn. Throw down hay, throw down straw, and that was about the way it was. Oh, it's so different. We went to church. We had an upbringing. When we went 10 minutes to 8, I don't care if it's sleeting, raining, snowing, or whatever, we went to church. The nun was ahead of us. We went to church. And then about 8:45, then we started. I don't know what the first thing, I guess the first thing was religion, usually. I don't know if it was every day. And we prayed. We prayed before we started class. We prayed at 10 o'clock before we went to the 10 o'clock recess. We prayed before the 12 o'clock noon, and we prayed at 1 o'clock when we started the afternoon class. And before we went home, we prayed. And the priest used to come on Tuesday and Thursday. We had catechism and Bible history. And when he'd come in, everybody, praise be to Jesus Christ, good morning, Father. I'll never forget it. I didn't want to leave my dad, you know. I didn't want to leave my dad. It was a good decision that I made. Because, you know, the war was coming. They had to go in 41. Well, the war came in 41. In 45, well, we were deferred. Just very lucky. Oh, a lot of fellas told me, whatever you do, don't go into this army. I was just very lucky, yeah. All my classmates, they all went in the army, yeah. It went by units. We had to have 24. That's a lot of cows, and we milked by hand here. We had to have 24 cows. It wasn't too bad, but it was bad enough. I was there 26 years with my mother and dad. Then when she died, I was 20 years with my dad. And then when my dad died, well, now it's almost 35 years, and I'm still farming. We always had cattle. When my dad died, I had 23 cows. The most I ever had alone, I guess, was with the calves was 34. That was the most. Yeah. My mother was laid out here. That was in 1898. That was big style, the bay window. That's why they put different cupboards on in the bay window, and that's the way it is. You see, that's 1946. About there was 2 nights here, the 7th and 8th of April. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Quite a while ago. It's 55 years ago. Yeah, we made, the last year my dad, we made 29.5 loads with the hay loader. I did all the loading and the unloading. I threw it in, a couple of bundles, and I spread it, and I put some more in. But he drove, I had a Ford tractor. I bought that Ford tractor in 65 in April, and he drove the Ford tractor, and we hauled 20, but we weren't done. Then the neighbors helped us. They made some hay for half, and they chopped some of it. Yeah, that was that's the way that was the last year my dad was there. That was about well, he drove a car here the 23rd of October. That was in 65. I liked the cattle. The cattle were wonderful. It's just like part of the family. I don't know how to explain it. You know, maybe just don't care or something like that. I was there till Eddie Oy came and got me out. That was around the 17th of February in 94. Well, then we walked outside and I had to wait. I could walk, everything was fine. I never thought about frostbite or freezing, never. Well, it wasn't that cold that day. I don't know. I should have had a good fire going and washed my feet and washed my feet. I had no idea this was ahead of me. Never. We had colder weathers, seasons 62 and 63. Those were the most terrible I ever came across. Then they wasn't satisfied with my clothes. They took my, they had the water in the bathtub about this high. I was just going to put it in. Eddie Olykin, no, they took my clothes off. I gotta go to the hospital. I said, I don't want to go to the hospital. I can't afford no hospital. Well, Fungi was down here that time. We used his car, and there was snow, quite a bit of snow. I guess Fungi got stuck a little bit. And then, oh, it dragged around in that hospital. That was the 17th of February. I remember one time they took a camera, they took a picture of my chest. And then, I don't know, it went along. Must have been before the 22nd or 23rd of February. They took me down, there was a tub of water. In 20 minutes, I could see my feet, but I felt it wasn't warm. That water wasn't warm. I wonder what the idea was. 20 minutes, one day, 3 days in a row. I wiggled my feet, everything was nice. By golly, it got to be the 22nd of
February, out of the clear blue right in my face, we got to take off a couple of toes. That nurse, I asked her, do they still use ether? She says, no, they don't use ether. Well, then, I don't know what happened. And the doctor said, we got to have another operation. They didn't say what they're going to do, but when I got back for the other operation, everything is bandaged and they cut it. It's cut off right here. She put new bandages on, you know, take the, well, I never knew that the human body could take that much pain. When I got there were like 5 clips in the front and 5 clips in the back. I don't know if it was metal or what it was. And then a week later, they came with the van again, and they took me to the doctor, and he pulled on one side, he pulled them out, and on the other side, and a week later, he pulled the back ones out. And then I went back there. Well, then I was in the wheelchair. Well, the 5th of July, I went up with my therapist and another, with a wheelchair, and she was along in the van. He had the legs all, well, that was before they had everything measured out, And that's the first time I stood up, and he asked me, how does it feel? Well, I didn't really tell him. It feels funny when you don't stand on the bottom. There's air down here, but you're walking on your knees. That's the way I still walk, on the knee. And I didn't walk, but I stood up. Well, then we took the legs along home, and my therapist, and then the next, well, maybe day or two later, 6th or 7th of July, then we put the legs on. Well, now it's old stuff. It's twice a day I put them on. But then I walked in, bars, and then with a walker, and then she gave me 2 wooden canes. And then we started. That was in July. We went in the building, in the hallway, up the steps, down the steps, outside on gravel, grass. I must say, it went pretty good. They used to call me Speedy. And I got pictures of it. It was a Reeves. That's what he trashed with. And the one we got now, when the Reeves was traded in south of the Liberty Pole, we got a Avery yellow fella. It's a nice machine. The machine is still, but the shed went down in '98. Well, the roof, it went down, but it's still there. It was a nice shed. Wondering how it's going to turn out, right? I thought the roof is pretty good. If it just goes down, it's protection anyway. Yeah. The cows, if I'd have been there alone, it wouldn't have been so good, You got the church and you got the friends, and it's a good thing. The animals are there, Yeah. When they saw off your feet, you got to go to the real routines, otherwise you will never. Who the heck wants to sit around all this life,
I'm trying to do, portray all this beauty, these models and whatever, and it's considered quite very often quite bad. So I can never be completely secure. I always have to be ready to run. My art has always been kind of suspect. And finally, one of the professors said, "Well," he said, "Well, he's the best of the worst." So at least I got that far. If I can find it on, he should be. They wrote it and said I was some kind of eccentric. I always just happen to run into the right person at the right instant. So I don't know how to account for it. It's Zen, lunacy of some kind. Well, you see, if you live 10,000 years in America, you'll become an Indian. In other words, I'm claiming this is what made them Indians, living here. And it takes about 5 to 10,000 years, I suppose, for that to happen. So we haven't yet, we just kind of got started in it. And I'm just a little out in front, I would say, with the Indian paintings. There were Indians around Manitowoc area, a few families. There weren't that many, but my father used to drink with them, and they used to have all kinds of buckets hanging off their car, and a lot of times they'd paint their cars. So that's kind of the idea I got about the Indians being kind of like real free or something. I admired them for their notions and their art notions, way beyond anything that we there in that of the European culture could. I mean, at that time, there was no such idea of art. No, I mean, they just thought the Indians were crazy, and I guess they were. So my ideas come from craziness. Is the only thing I could think of. I mean, I'd say the most solid situation that I was in, one of the most solid situations was Indians' craziness. See, I never thought there was any other place. When we got electricity, I remember telling my father, I said, "What do we need with that for?" He said, "Well, you can play the radio." And I said, "Well, we got a battery for the radio." And he said, "We got electric lights." I said, "What do you need those for? We have the lamps here. We had these kerosene lamps. We'd always be stumbling, falling, and setting fire all over and putting the fires out. That was just fun." So then we had this car. You have to crank it to start it, and the old man would always get drunk and break his arm. I was maybe 10 or 11 or so, but anyway, I could do it because I was real quick at the time. And I could, if it kicked back sometimes, you just let it go, and then he said, "We're going to get a car with a battery." Ooh, I said, "What do you want with that?" Now, I never thought that there would be any kind of improvement on anything, and that thought never occurred to me that anything could be different than it was. In other words, my idea was that everything had been the same for the last million years or more. I couldn't believe that there was any changes at all, and that's the way it was. Now I see where there's all kinds of improvements could be made in just about everything, but at the time, no.
Well, now you have a telephone.
Uh,
You have the Playboy channel. That's a big difference from kerosene lamps and crank.
Well,
or no?
well, I don't feel hardly any different, see, because we had 9 children in the family, and it was always 2 or 3 fights on. It was just like television. It was no different than television. In fact, it was probably better than television, because if there wasn't at least 2 fights on at the time, because they were all very wild kind of people. And then the old man was drunk, and he would be fighting with the old lady, and so it was constant entertainment. And my brothers were very unusual and sort of kind of wild people. I think it was the old man. He used to drink and get real wild. Because I always have fun with him when he was drinking. Because you had to be careful, because he would jump at you in a minute. You never know. I was just having fun, see? And I'd say something, and he didn't agree with it, and he'd jump right at your throat. But other than that, I'd have a lot of fun with the guy. But you never knew what would set him off. My family were very Catholic, and my mother was praying all the time, which I think really did help a lot. Well, I was 4F'd because I and my brother went, my twin brother. My kid brother was crazy as a bedbug, and they put him in right away as a solid citizen. Said that we were crazy because we talk crazy. I think that's what got me out, because they thought if he's crazy, the twin brother must be somewhat crazy too, see? So anyway, put this down as schizophrenic. And I had never heard of this, so I asked a couple of people, what the hell is this, schizophrenic? And they said, well, it means you're crazy. I said, well, Jesus, thanks. I mean, at first I knew of it. I mean, I never realized this. So that was all right. And then about 3 or 4 months later, they called us up again. And put us right through it. And I said, well, wait a minute. The last time I was crazy, I was here 3 months ago, I was crazy as a bedbug. I said, I haven't done any shrinks or anything. He said, we see no sign of it. Well, I didn't either, but I mean, I thought, well, okay. So that's how I got drafted. I enjoyed Japan. I had a real lot of fun there. I couldn't tell it from heaven. Maple Grove was all right, but Japan, I mean, there's so many opportunities there. At least when I was there, it was that way. You couldn't walk a block without a couple girls coming up to you and asking if you wanted a girlfriend. But I could get like in a day, I could get 100 beautiful women chasing me, because they all wanted the GIs at the time. And most of them never had any. That's why they didn't realize how bad we are. The other, I don't know what I want to say about the painting. I don't know if I ever quite got to the best of the worst yet. Started about 50 years ago, give or take a year, but sometimes I quit for a few years, and I don't know how I ever happened to start painting Indians. That was just another stroke of luck, I think. I have no idea, other than I sort of liked Indian paintings. And another thing is, if you can't paint too well, you continue doing it, thinking that you'll someday get better or something. The main thing with art is not to be too good at it, because then you can always be improving a little bit. So if there was some way that you could knock intelligence and talent out of people early and let them come on gradually. After I was in the big war, yes, I went to Madison, and it was very much of a come down from Japan, because it's so much livelier place. You know, it's 10 times as lively, no, 100 times as lively. And it took me a little while to adjust. So this is America, and I used to read a lot, and the old man was always complaining, get your nose out of those, I always call them those goddamn books. or you'll end up an educated fool. And that's more or less what's happened to me. See, you go up or high or down. You can go up or down faster than the speed of light. And that's another thing. Anybody who says that you're limited to the speed of light and going up or down would get my dander up. I would not allow that kind of thinking, because you can go up maybe 10 times faster than the speed of light, or down if you saw something that you didn't like. You understand? The speed of light has nothing to do with it, or very little. I'll put it like this: it's very little to do with it. When you get high on a painting, you see almost all the commands from the housewife to the children are no, because they otherwise wreck the house or they hurt themselves. And when you have paintings, so that only leaves like there's about 90 or 95% of the commands are negative, so that only leaves a 5% or less openness, and then they get school closes them further. So they only can really get off on 1 out of about 50 paintings, the average person, or maybe even 1 out of 100. So in order to keep them up, to keep them buoyed up, you have to have maybe like 50 paintings per block. Now, 1 out of 100 people didn't have that negative childhood, and they're like 80% of the paintings or whatever. I mean, but that's very unusual. You can't count on that. You have to count the normal. You have to count on what's kind of like normal, and you can't back down on what's normal. You get very stiff about it. You act like you don't want to hen over it. Now, here's what you see. When you try to get the people to put out 2 paintings or so outside of their pad, so that anybody walking or driving could stay high pretty much the whole day. So you have to have all different kinds. There's no 2 agree on what a good piece of art is. So you'd hope that there'd be mistakes as they put their stuff out. You'd hope that a lot of them would make mistakes and not go according to older standards of what they're teaching in the schools as good art. You'd hope for mistakes. The mistakes would come within 1,000,000 years, and they could start right away, in fact. So calling sex dirty is very damaging, is what I'm suggesting. And so I'm now trying to, on a campaign, which will probably last 1,000,000 years, to change that around where we don't call it dirty anymore. So that's just a phase people go through. Now this has been only for maybe 100 or 200 years that the dirty stuff has been out. Since Martin Luther. Just one modern session. Oh, perfect. Oh, yes. Now leave your head just a little bit. Oh, nice. Oh, now put your leg out like that. Oh, yes. Okay, that's perfect. Oh, and he says that 100 times in a row, or maybe 1,000, before it actually takes hold. And then he starts getting the really good shots. So either there should be a law against it, just one guy doing it, or else it should be a general usage. But the main, all fuzzy, wuzzy grief is from the same source, and it is lack of view of desirable alternatives. I'm now claiming that we should force happiness onto people. And the way you do it, you have to do it by what they see, mostly what they feel and they think every day is what they see every day. That's why I want to put the artwork outside kind of all over, because I think that would make a big change. And it would only come, this is started, it would maybe only show up within 1,000,000 years. And it'd be soon enough, to satisfy me.
Would you like to take a tour? I'm the leader of a one-man music band and the leader of a 2-liter pop bottle. Oh, sure, you could take a tour. I'll give you a tour. See how those colors fade? Boy, that time goes fast. It seemed like I just started. Well, I started at 5:30 p.m. 1986. AD, not BC, AD. And the first one that I put up was a bicycle wheel, you know, with bottles on. Now you can come in, and when you come in, shut the gate quick so the mosquitoes don't come in. Unbelievable. Well, this is a regular orange blossom. Here's the seeds in there. Now this is the sun. Now that was all green before, but I painted it a little bit yellow to make it more attractive. Now that fell out of the sky one night. I was over on the side there when I got up in the morning. The sun was there and the moon. So I had some sun and some moonshine. But then I painted this yellow to make it more attractive. And then I got some fans here. I had 21 fans, but I had to take some down.
Why?
There wasn't enough wind for all of them. I don't believe all I tell you, and half of what you hear, and the rest make your own conclusion. There's my angels in the window. Can you see them? See, the yellow is for Norwegian and the red is for German. These two are Norwegian. And this one's part Norwegian and German, red German. And there's our country colors, red, white, and blue, and yellow for the good Norwegians. And I got some funny faces. And this is happy birthday to you. See, I didn't have enough room for you on there, so I just put you. Is that all right? And there's an artificial pizza. And it's to you from me. This is Mary Lou, dressed in blue. And there's a spider beside her. She's from Tennessee. See it? She's got an artificial strawberry soda for you. And this is the bottle tree. This is a 12-ounce, the old type. 12-ounce, a new type, the rosebud. 16-ounce. And the 1 liter, they stole it, because I think it's an antique. If you know what that is. Now, this is BS. Now, don't say nothing bad, because manager wouldn't like it. You know what that stands for? Best sales. Boy Scouts, bologna and sausage, or whatever you say it is. Or whatever you say it is. That's what it is. And then over here, and there's my geranium. This is a pink pail for poor people. And this is for the kids. And this is Oscar pepper. This is a bank. And this is bottled time bottle, or bottled time, whatever you want to call it. See how they get when they're out in the open? They get brittle and they break. I don't know what come in it, but there's water in there now. Now that's water from heaven. Would you say it's holy water?
Yeah.
Don't tell the Pope. He won't like that very good. And there's some more funny faces. Sending you a bouquet of roses, one for every one. You broke my heart, and so forth. But that, you think that's all right? Now, when the wind blows, that goes round and round. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. And this one over here. Come along with me, Lucille, in my Merry Oldsmobile. You can go as far as you like with me in my Merry Oldsmobile. Don't sit with anybody else with me under the green bottle apple tree. Bottle turner. This was Miss USA, but somebody stole the head on it. Gee, there was such a nice head. She'd like to go duck hunting. And this is good luck to you. I didn't have enough room for you on there, so I put you. Is that all right? So now it says good luck to you, dear. Now before I had God Bless America, then I had God Bless USA. Which do you think is the best? Here's the Ferris wheel. Now people, before I had that all clear white bottles. Nobody noticed it. So I put a couple colors on there. And everybody says, gee, what happened? Did you run out of clear bottles? I said, no, I just put that up there to see if you noticed it. By golly, they noticed it. Unbelievable.
Oh, where did you get the fishnet stockings?
Do you want to hear the story about that?
Yeah.
You see, when you get a bunch of figures and you add them up, that's gross. Then when you take off your expenses, you know what that is? Net. You picked the net one, you're in the black. If you'd have picked that one, you'd have been in the red. You so are okay, I think. I hope. Think you are?
No.
Oh, come on. I don't want to change that. Okay. And this is August 2001. Now there's a sorted color fan. Do you think that would look better if it be all one color or assorted? But I think it's better to have one color, like you say, because there's always one that doesn't look very good, and it spoils it for the others. But coming or going, they got you. You can't win. Even if you win, you lose. You know what this is? See this? It's a Peter Piper's pea stand. See? You want to hear the rest of the story? Well, it's a stand for particular people that play poker or pinochle. See, they put that around the card table, and then when it's time to treat the guests, they put pretzels, peanuts, popcorn, and potato chips, but no bananas. Begins with a P. This is a pea stand. Well, then when they're all done, and they got some pennies or petty cash they don't want, they put it in the pot. Pea stand. There's a funny face. There's my ship that just came in. And then over here. See what she says here? The bottles look pretty good here, but it is out in the field, they faded. Now, this was bright red, and that was bright blue, and that was yellow, but they faded. Do you think I ought to repaint them or leave them as is? Now, originally, this was blue with white stars on it, but the cup got brittle and fell off. And this is okay, and then from there on, I added another one, and everybody said, gee, that looks good. So I got all steamed up, and I've been adding, subtracting, multiplying, yellow robin, bells of St. Mary's, cookie cutters, Ferris wheels, merry-go-rounds, Norwegians, funny faces on the yellow bottle, Norwegians, and the green ones was Irish bottles. The mayor, they're going too fast. Screwed that gal on a tree, 2 girls on the tree, life size. I don't know who they are. This is my other gal, and this is a duck drinking some milk. I had to screw her on a tree before she'd get away from me. See, so I screwed her on real good, so she wouldn't get away. You think she's all right? Which one do you like best, this one or the other one? Stick their nose in other people's business? Okay, I'll have to give her credit for it. See, the one that gets the most votes stays on the loan. Well, she had 4 eggs in there. He had nothing to do with it. I had 3 brothers. Of course, they're all dead now. His name was Leo, and he always wanted everything plain as could be. He says, don't put out anything that anybody will look at to attract attention. So when he died, I helped myself and put some stuff out. Boy, if he'd be alive today, I'd be dead, I bet. That's the way it goes. You can't win. Even if you win, you lose. You ever see a crybaby? You want to see mine?
Yeah.
Don't get too close. See, it's coming out of his mouth, not out of here. See it? Now before I had a flower pot here with, I'd give them water. This guy would water them for me. Over here, you're at your Ferris wheel. You ever see a yellow robin? Well, I was going to make another one, but I couldn't. So I put a pair there. There's two. All right? That's for the kids. See? See that yellow birdhouse? A wren came out there the other day. It was about 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, when it's just getting light. It was up there singing its morning prayer. Gee, that sounded nice. Yeah. But you know, it's so much I want to do, I sit down and figure out what I'm going to do. And by the time I know what I'm going to do, it's time to do something else. You know, driving and riding a bicycle is fun all the time. Now I had one, I never had a car, I always used a bicycle. Yeah, it made it enjoyable. I had people from all over the country. I had them from Switzerland, Germany, Bangladesh, Barcelona, Spain, and all over. Well, the green is Irish, and the blue is Bohemian, or Polish, and the yellow is Dutch or Norwegian. I don't know, shoot. I enjoy everything I do. Riding a bicycle. Now today, when I just came home, about 5 miles, I have signed guest books, and then I have put down the date and the ones they like the best. And the ones that they don't put down, them are the ones I know I got to take down, put up new ones. So I kept up with the times. I was born in this house. I hate to move. I might have to move some of these days, you never can tell. But I don't know, everything is so nice. I got the park here. I can look over there. I can look through the window, play my keyboard, and watch the kids play ball. Gee, you know, everything is just exactly what I like. Now that looked real nice when the yellow was real yellow, but it faded. You know, it fades like everything else. I ought to put some new ones up, but I don't know, everybody says leave it the way it is. They got to change it or leave it the way it is. The bells of St. Mary's. These are the bells of St. Mary's, and that's the bells. I just put that up there the other day, but that's why I use that fork. But I don't want to work to it. That don't look good, does it? Did you ever see the bells of St. Mary's? Want to see mine? This one they ring for the Mass. This one for weddings. And this one for funerals. You think they look better when they're faded? See, that was nice red before. The bottles look nice here, but out in the field, they're pretty well faded. You know, with the hot sun and everything. You know, summer's going the other way already. We just get used to it, they change it. They fade it. That's it.
Art is something to be enjoyed. It's something to be lived with. It's something to be part of your everyday life. Not something reverential that you speak about in a hushed whisper, you know. People come here for only one reason. They've heard about it, they're curious, they come, they like it. If they like it, they come back. If they don't like it, they don't come back. It's that simple. But they're here because they've heard and were curious, and they come to enjoy. The first scene of this, the place where this man is so just agitated by this whole thing that's disturbing him inside him. He can't name it, can't know what it is, and he has already purchased that gold band in the marketplace, but he keeps it hidden because this black band, this is the respectability. This is the thing he's permitted to wear. So anybody in the whole populace who sees that thing on his arm, they'll say, no, this is a man of position, importance, highly respected. Now when he passes. But it's not doing the trick because it's what's underneath here. It's this thing. It's this thing right here. We danced out of the passion. We danced. I danced because that was my life, and I still am dancing because it's my life. Not a job, it's my life. And those early people danced because it was their life. And they put up with anything they had to put up with. They did anything they had to do just even to get the opportunity to walk on a stage and perform. And get an audience in there. And the older I get, the less patience I have with people. You know, when I see people do stupid things, they're so stupid. And not be able to see where they're making mistakes. Because I think it's so terrible that we cannot seem to. Well, let me back up a second. There's a thing you often heard quoted. Well, they have to learn by experience, but that's not true. If I put my hand on a red-hot stove and bring it back with my skin burned to the bone, if I saw somebody else do that, there's no necessity for me to have to go do it myself to learn that my hand's going to be burned to the bone. All I've got to do is see what happened with that other person. We're not smart enough, seemingly, to learn from watching the experience of others and realize that I'm not going to be one bit different when that experience comes to me. Watch what has happened to that person there. Watch what was the result. And realize I'm going to have the same result. So how stupid of me to go ahead and repeat that same act. When all I've got to do is to watch what happened to him. But we keep doing it. We always get to, well, I have to learn by my experience myself. Honey, that's a big farce. You spare yourself so much suffering. You spare yourself so much wasted energy and wasted time if you would be smart enough to learn from watching the mistakes of other people. I have lived through 6 wars, and that is preposterous for one human being to have lived through 6 wars in his lifetime. What does that say? Because I have memories that go back to World War I. And when you go through all of these wars over and over, and it's always the same. It doesn't change. It's always the same dialogue, the same speeches, the same propaganda, and the same horrible, horrible destruction of human life that goes on. It doesn't change. You just get a different name, and you just get a different reason, supposedly, for why the war is being fought. So anyway, we kept our little dance class going. We'd go out into the pine grove out there, you know. And I had my practice suit, you know, the trousers, the bare midriff, the tie top shirt. And, well, this particular morning, we were out in the woods. Plie, pull up that back. Plie, watch that turn out, you know. Lift that spine up, you know. And this major came walking by. He walked on by, he stopped. He flipped around, did this double turn, just stood there looking at us a minute. Then he said, "Now I know I have seen everything in this goddamn war," and walked on. When I was being discharged, and I was sure, I was clear, that they couldn't do anything to me anymore. The first thing I did, I took off that uniform, rolled it up in a ball, I took it outside, I poured gasoline on it and set fire to it. I just have no patience with, no liking for, no respect for this whole corporate mentality, and the same mentality that exists in the field of science. A mentality which says, I have no responsibility for what the fallout or the consequences may be of something I do. All I will do is to do the thing and turn it loose. People keep saying, you don't know what kind of a monstrosity you may turn up with. You have no way of knowing what monstrosity you may. That's no concern to us. This is no real. Science is holy. It's sacred. We can do no wrong. So if we turn out a monstrosity, we turn it out and turn it loose in society. Somebody will take care of it. That's why I have no respect for it. I have no liking for it. But we've made such a, our whole society has turned into such a state of mind of reverence, of science, technology, and sports. I danced because that was my life, and I still am dancing because it's my life. I've made it so clear to everyone that I say, look, the day I can no longer do my work, I'm out of here. I'm gone to some other region or wherever it is one goes, but I am gone. So be ready for it. Life is such a miracle. It is such a wondrous gift to be able to have life. It's how you relate to all of that up there. It's how you relate to other human beings. It's how you relate to yourself. Of knowing what it is to just love things. To love being alive. To love what you're doing. I think, I don't want to leave this world because I love it. I love it. This world is a wonderful, wonderful, marvelous, incredible thing. We dance always from human experience. From the experience of the human being, of what it means to be a human being. Because the ultimate creative act always is you. The art is only a tool. The art is only a vehicle through which comes out that human being that is you. And that's the ultimate end of art, or it should be the end of art, to be the vehicle. Because the ultimate creative act always is that human being. Because you're born and you're given this mass of raw material. What do you do with it? What do you create with that raw material? That's the ultimate creative act of all. Everything ultimately comes back to this whole thing of the gift of life. And valuing life and appreciating it, you learn to enjoy it. It's great. It's a great, I wouldn't have missed it for anything.
Boy, you can't see nothing here. Is there a stone in here? Yeah. But there's no fence, there's no stones there. Is there a stone over there? Right there? Or is that something else? That's a stone. That's a stone? Oh, there are stones this way when you come. A lot of them. The stones are still here. Well, that's one of them. I was going to take pictures of myself. Is it reddish? The one that I see was really red. But there's a kind of a red one with striping on. That's the one I always wanted to take a picture of. See, if I ain't mistaken, there is another one, but it's got more cuts in it, you know. I'm pretty sure there was one stone, but I don't know. It seemed to have a line of different stones to the center. We got no stones, but close to it, there's some stones. So that's why I pile them on top here. You know, them stones I put on top here, otherwise they wouldn't have been here. We got no stones. When you get to stone country, you see all kinds of stuff. Hang, put your knees against it. Yeah, I can feel it with the chains. Later on, I can sit on one of them if you help me up. Well, there's a bigger one here. That's pretty big, isn't it? Touch it once. Is that a big stone? Is that a... Gee, I could sit down on that one. This is the end of the stones, huh? Yeah. We got no stones. It looks like there's one in the middle of the stone, you know. I think that's the one. I think I remember it. Then there's a big one over here, too. There's no more stones. No grass and trees, but there's no more stones. Oh, there's no more stones.